Hey guys, Scott here, and today I want to talk about addressing camping. I was just watching one of Oz's videos about it, and I thought I'd give my input on the whole subject because I think a lot of the discussions around camping are not the right discussions to be had. And a lot of the way that behavior tries to address camping is with perks and, band-aids and things like that. That's generally the way they fix it. And for the most part, things like reassurance, they do help a lot, but it doesn't change the fact that we're addressing core problems with perks. And I've never really found that to be the correct way to go about doing things. And so you can look at all these videos about, with this perk, does this help camping? With these perks, does this help the killer camp and all that stuff? But I think none of these discussions are addressing the core issue of camping in general. I think camping is not a gameplay mechanic issue, it's a human nature issue. I think since camping exists in every game, that it's always going to be why people are doing it more than can they do it. And the can they do it is more the discussion of perks that stop it and things like borrowed time and reassurance and camaraderie and kinship and all that stuff that address that can they do it. But the question we should be asking is why do people do it? And the reason, in my opinion, why people camp in basically any game, let's look at Counter-Strike, for example. It is a lower risk scenario in which you can still guarantee a middling reward of some kind. So it's very low risk, medium reward. And so people that don't want to really put into a lot of effort, they just sort of want to do a very safe thing. They want to just camp mid with an op and just that's how they're going to play. It will give them something. Now, they're not going to ace the whole team. They're never going to make a big play like that. They're never going to guarantee in DBD, for example, a 4K or something like that by camping. But if you do camp every round, you're pretty much guaranteed at least 2 kills. Now, the game is not even going to consider that a win, but you can still get more than that too. It's just the baseline is a guarantee of some middling success. And I think that's the core issue of why people do it in every game, because sometimes they don't want to risk getting nothing. They want to do the boring, low effort, basic thing that guarantees them some result. And that's pretty much the case in Dead by Daylight as well. And it's funny, the better the team going against the camping is, the less effective camping is, again, in every game. Look at Counter-Strike. If someone's camping, but people know the good camp spots, they can just flashbang it or something like that, and then they're ambushing you instead. Same thing goes with DBD. If people know that you're camping, they're just going to bust out gens, and you're going to get 1, maybe 2 kills, and the killer's not really going to win, but the survivors are not really going to win either, and everyone's just not winning, and everyone's just having a bad time. So that's why I think whether or not it's possible shouldn't be the discussion. It's whether or not you get rewarded for doing so to begin with. And so I think the only true way to address camping, no perks, none of that band-aid stuff, the only true way to address camping is to just simply de-incentivize it from a winning perspective. Because I truly believe that everybody that camps is not doing it because they're just sadistic and they like ruining people's days. Those people do exist, don't get me wrong, but it's the minority. It's the vast minority. I'm willing to bet the vast minority of people playing Dead by Daylight are not in it just to fuck other people's fun, despite what people say. They're really just in it to have their own fun, and then they want to win. That's the main reason that people would camp, is because they still want to win, and they find it to be a safe, somewhat effective strategy of doing it. However, if we had a system that de-incentivized camping because it would result in you not really winning anymore, then I think the problem would naturally fix itself. So if we had some type of system that could detect if somebody was camping and then penalize their win condition based on that, that would, I think, begin to address the scenarios. And you can have like a little like sigil that would, you could see that like how long in the match you were camping, you could see you got penalized. You can call them like emblems or something like that. I'm overkilling this joke. The point is, behavior already did this. This system already existed. And if they just spent the 2 years making, frankly, what I think is unanimously agreed to be a terrible MMR system, if they spent that 2 years refining the emblem system instead, I think the problems of camping and tunneling would have gone down drastically. And the reason is because the emblems actually account for this stuff already, at least camping. You could always throw in tunneling too. It's very easy to fix as well. Basically, if, the first 3 hooks are on the same person, then the killer is massively penalized for tunneling. Just things like that. It's really easy to do, but they just had to refine it more. But for camping, it already exists. You can see it in the post-game, score screen. You can check your emblems, and if you were camping, you'll see a bunch of, negative points saying, hey, you were too close to the hook. And I think the problem is they just didn't refine that enough, because there were a lot of scenarios in which survivors could abuse that. What if somebody, survivor hung around the hook, which sort of forced the killer to stay there? Now, the killer is now just actually defending the hook at this point. He's not really doing anything malicious. He's just defending the hook from a survivor that's trying to save right in his face, and the survivor can hang around there and make the killer lose by forcing him to stay in that same position. It doesn't really make any sense. However, it's pretty easy to fix. You can just simply make it so if the survivor is being chased by the killer, then the killer's not losing points anymore. And if the killer's not in a chase, then he starts rapidly losing points if he's camping. Just simple things like that. These are the refinements I'm talking about that would have actually addressed camping more than any perk or band-aid solution they could have thrown into the game. And with those types of scenarios, we'd be in, I think, a lot better spot in terms of camping. Because it addresses the main issue that people that camp, they still want to win the match. And if we made it so that you were penalized so much to the point where if you just never left the hook until the guy died, then you would not win the game anymore. Now, the survivors, according to the emblems, wouldn't really win either because they didn't do any altruism, they didn't do any chases, because there was none to be had. But at the very least, the survivors wouldn't lose. They would just sort of draw while the killer did lose. And over time, I think this would eventually fix the problem because the survivors wouldn't be losing and the killer would be losing every time this happened, to the point where people would just stop doing it because people don't like losing. I think that's why I think it's more of a core human mindset issue more than a can we camp and can we fix camping with perks and stuff like that. It's why do people camp to begin with? If we take the lazy method and the safe method and make it not so safe and not really guaranteeing at least a draw anymore, well, now we have a scenario where killers are just naturally de-incentivized to camp because they will actually get more towards their win condition if they go and initiate other chases. And in this type of scenario, we could have a scenario where the killer gets one kill and still is considered win, or it's still considered a win because they played in the most fun way possible for everyone involved. They got the most amount of chases, and that's what the game needs to literally be balanced around. The win condition needs to be balanced around promoting as much fun as humanly possible on both sides. You don't have to cater to any rulebook or anything like that. The game itself should function in such a way that people that play in the most fun way where everyone gets to participate in the most things possible win. And if that makes it so in a scenario where the survivors, draw out the game so it actually lasts a while and the killer gets, 11 hooks and, even if they get like 9 hooks and only one survivor dies, it's okay that both sides are considered to have won then. Because in my opinion, this sounds so corny, but if both sides had a lot of fun, I think both sides literally did win. That's the point of this game, is to have fun. It's the point of every game. This is not a super competitive esport. We're not balancing it for that. And if both sides had fun and you reward them for playing in a way in which everyone had fun, I think that's fine that both sides win. It's not going to happen very much, but if that scenario does happen, it's totally fine that both sides win at the same time. Because if, everyone concurrently goes up with each other, there's still no disparity. It's just everyone goes up instead. So I think that is the correct way to address camping. It's the emblem system that they already had. They just needed to refine it a bit more to make it not really abusable. And this can address, like I said, tunneling too. The emblem system was really the solution to a lot of the game's problems, not perks and band-aids that determine whether or not you can do something, because the emblems were more of a why are you doing it to begin with. And yeah, that's really, I think, what they had to do. Just refine that emblem system and would be in a much better spot than whatever very, frankly, silly MMR system that we currently have now that only takes, kills and escapes into account. I think we can all unanimously agree that it is a very badly designed system. And if they put their efforts towards that actual emblem system, we'd be in a good spot. So I think that's the correct way to fix camping. It's a human nature issue. They want to win, not a can we do this to begin with issue. And yeah, I think that's about it. I'm sure there's some stuff I missed, but yeah, I really kind of missed the emblem system. I wish they worked on that more. I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts. Thanks for watching. See you next time.